March 18th brings Firehair to Marvel Snap, but is she worth your keys? I'll revisit Starbrand and see if Cassandra Nova and Nico Minoru deserve a spot in your collection. Let's ignite the competition. This might be the quickest recap of all time. Starbrand is exactly who we thought he was. Starbrand
Or who we thought they were!
He belongs in Scar Surger, he belongs in Sauron, and end of discussion. So, if you like those types of decks, he's definitely worth getting. Just a big, dumb body with power. Otherwise, you can safely avoid him. Here we have the Spotlight lineup for this week. Firehair is the new card, which is pretty unique. Yes, there's some similarities, but as unique as a card in Marvel Snap can be. Cassandra Nova, who sees her fair amount of use in Negative Affliction as a counter to Arishem. And then we have Nico Minoru, who belongs in about 50 different decks. So she is super popular. So let's start running through the cards. So with Firehair, what she does essentially is repeat the on-reveal of cards that you destroy. Now, this ultimately can be stopped with Cosmo, because Cosmo stops on-reveals from occurring here. So if you play Cosmo into Firehair's lane, on-reveals can't happen here in that lane. So there are some amount of counters that, in addition to Red Guardian, potentially, if she is the cheapest card in her location, or the lowest power card in her location. So with Firehair, there are a ton of things you can do with her. There are a ton of on-reveals. That said, you need that support to be able to destroy cards. So, of course, we have the normal destroy cards like Carnage, Venom, Deathlock. And then there are also cards like Misery as well. Grandmaster in certain cases, because you can re-trigger a different destroy card. And let's get into her decks. First up, we have the Series 2 version with a slight condition. So we are leaning more into the destroy path. We have White Tiger here. That's a fantastic card to destroy and then get another Tiger. Null is a potential finisher here. Null is not Series 2. Neither is X23, but a lot of players did get that in a recent global event that the game had. Cards that we can re-trigger also include Rocket Raccoon, and then potentially other destroy cards, so you can destroy your destroy cards. Like you have Wolverine that you've destroyed with Carnage, and then you destroy both of those with Deathlock, and now Firehair triggers the Carnage effect. So I don't know if that's doing too much, but also listen, at Series 2, I'm playing with both hands behind my back. There aren't many options. So this is what we're going with for the Series 2 version. Now Series 3 is where my creativity is on full display. So we are going with a Patriot Surfer with a splash of Venom and Carnage. So with Bast, actually, we can bump up a lot of our cards to 3 power. We do bump down Sarah, and Absorbing Man, that's fine. The game plan here is varied. You can go a Patriot route with Brood and Absorbing Man. You can go Silver Surfer as well. You have the Venom, which is another 3 cost. You have Forge. So there are a number of different targets that you can destroy, that when you re-trigger those with Firehair, you get some amount of value, like Venom, Absorbing Man, depending on what he has copied, Brood, if you destroy that main Brood, Silver Surfer, if you destroy him, you can get him to trigger again. So, of course, with Series 3, you are limited. There might be a certain version of this with Misery as well, but for Series 3, this is what we're going with. Okay, I am not a mill player, so that is where Firehair will go. So we are creating a different style deck, of course, when we don't have any limitations. So the thought here is to lean into Victoria Hand, getting just decent value out of her with the Demon from the Hood, an Agent 13 card. You throw in Moonstone as well, and the Iron Patriot card. Frigga is here also to potentially copy that. Those cards that I mentioned, what they generate, or the Victoria hand herself. We have Misery to destroy some of our hand generation cards as well, along with Carnage. And this is wild as well. Carnage can also get rid of your hood. And if Firehair works outside of Mill, I think this is a worthy contender. Cassandra Nova does enjoy some amount of popularity, especially as a counter to Arishem and Thanos. So there are uses for her in the counter role. There are also uses for her in the negative affliction role. And so she has a wide-ish amount of uses. And so if you end up unlocking Cassandra Nova, depending on your interests, that's what every single card in Marvel Snap is, you should be able to find some use from her from time to time. Nico Minoru is in the running for the best one-cost card in the game, which kind of also puts her in the running for potentially best Marvel Snap card, period, regardless of cost. You all can debate that yourselves. With Nico, when she initially released, people were doubting the usefulness of her spells. But as we've seen, the usefulness of her spells are very high, and most of them are just very useful in any individual match. It doesn't really matter what you get, and sometimes the spell you get is perfect to get you a huge amount of cubes. Let's say if you're ripping away Limbo, you get Nico's location spell on turn 6. That's fantastic. Her move spell, if there's a closed off location, move it to the right. So there is some fantastic in-game utility with her, and her applications are just wide. That is why she's in everything from Zoo to Phoenix Force to a bunch of decks in between. Negative Affliction potentially as well. Her Destroy and Draw 2 spell finds her a home sometimes in Destroy. So she is very powerful and is in the running for the best card during this Spotlight week, even above Firehair. So we all know I can't resist a unique card. So of course, I'm actually not getting Firehair. That might change if I see other people creating something that potentially is unique and interesting to me. It did happen with Bullseye, where I wasn't planning on getting him, but I saw a lot of interesting ideas that weren't the straightforward deck that he's in now. But with Firehair, I really only see her in Mill, and being able to play an on-reveal, destroy that on-reveal that you would want repeated, are just lower cost cards benefit from that more so, because you want that effect, of course, to go off multiple times in the game. So the higher cost cards you don't get much value out of, because then you need to destroy those higher cost cards, and there aren't many turns to do that. Firehair, I think, is at risk of getting a nerf, and let me explain why. At 2 cost, she fits so well into Mill, and if this makes Mill super annoying, they will make changes, as they've done in the past. White Widow comes to mind. So with Firehair, if she were to get nerfed to 3 cost, that would destroy her probably everywhere. So that seems unlikely. They could change her to an ongoing, potentially, to open up more counters. But right now, again, it seems like it only goes in Mill. I'm not a Mill player. I will just buckle up for the inevitable horrible week during her release. Otherwise, I just could not come up with anything interesting when I was theory crafting, so that's what informed me. Thanks to all the members, and thank you to everybody that watches this deep into the video. I say that every time. So, to recap, Firehair is a bad card. Oof, strong words, nerds. Strong words.
You are a hater.
The reason I say bad card is I just could not find uses for her that made sense, that seemed strong and powerful. In the same way I was theory crafting with Joaquin Torres Falcon, the same thing was true. Now, that card ended up getting a buff, which makes him a whole heck of a lot better. But with Firehair, it's tough to buffer because Mill would just be even more annoying. So, outside of Mill, I just don't see a use for her. And maybe even within Mill, if enough counters crop up, or it just doesn't pan out how people expect, you won't see her in there either. So yeah, I just think she's a bad card, as she is created right now. Then we have Cassandra Nova, who is a good card. She belongs in Affliction, and as an Erisham counter, she is worth having in your collection. She was originally released during Deadpool's Diner as the card you win from that event. And then we have Nico Minoru, who is a absolutely fantastic card. So she, after talking through this and making this video, is the premier card this week. She is super strong, super good, super flexible, and you will definitely find a use for her in your decks, and you will see her in plenty of my decks as well. And so that is the recap. Let me know what you think, and until next time.